what do you believe it's going to take in order to have multiple players drafted in the NFL from HBCUs?
We have to continue to pour into our programs. At the end of the day, that's a shame. Because if you look back and see how many guys signed free agent contracts,
yeah,
the numbers it's a lot different.
Yeah,
and that's a shame. Our guys at HBCU should be able to get that same head start on life. Talking about financially, because there's a major difference being a draft pick than being a free agent.
Yep.
So let's get our guys that same financial head start on life that some of the other students are getting, our athletes are getting. I definitely think more than one guy should have been drafted this year. It makes me work harder,
right?
And also makes me hold my guys more accountable. They have to do things not just better. Everything has to be better.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, to help them in life, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. But we're not going to complain about it. We're going to keep it grinding and keep getting it done. It's about
Welcome to another great episode of After the Season podcast with your girl JC. That be me. And of course, first of all, y'all been rocking out with us for real, man. I am still floored at what this podcast is doing, but we treating it like, I like to call it like a therapy session on display, honestly. A lot of people come in and they sit in these chairs and they express some of the things that's personal to them that they've never, ever actually said aloud. So thank you. Please keep liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. That's how it gets out. And, of course, we've interviewed so many people that have been under this guy that's sitting next to me. So instead of having them talk about him, we're going to have him talk about him today. This is my guy, Coach Damon Wilson. What's up, man?
Not too much. How you doing?
I'm good. It's it's crazy because as we were, getting ready to shoot, we started talking about how long we've actually known each other. I didn't realize it had been over 10 years at this point.
Double-digit years.
Very much so. And, you look back at all of the success that you've had, you sitting in the seat as a head coach now at Bowie State University. And we'll get into how we got there. But did you ever think that you would actually get to this point? Did you ever see this?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to say yes, as humble as I can be. As I was a young guy coming up, my dad and my uncle were youth coaches.
Okay.
And I've always kind of modeled myself behind them. They had other 9-to-5 jobs, but I watched what they did and how they interacted with the youth. I knew it was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I knew once I got going, we were going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And I'm fortunate enough to have some great coaches around me, some great players to make me look good.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of people, and we're going to talk about how you have a lot of NFL players. You have a lot of star players that have accolades within multiple divisions and conferences. So as we dial back, you played tight end.
Right.
And, of course, you went to Bowie State University.
Right.
But before you went there, high school-wise, like, what was that like for you? Did you always want to be the tight end, or what did you really want to play?
All I knew, I just wanted to go to college and play football.
Okay.
And that really came about late. I went to Suitland High School, and at the time, we weren't a heavily recruited high school, and this area really wasn't heavily recruited. And academically, I was an average student. I could turn it on, turn it off when I wanted to. But I think going into my senior year, I realized, hey, I do want to go to college.
Okay.
I took the SAT one time. The scores weren't good enough. I had to go to Montgomery Junior College first. Then I transferred to Bowie State. Had some success at Montgomery Junior College as a player and as a student, and playing a new position. I transitioned to a tight end in junior college. I was a defensive lineman and offensive lineman in high school.
I can see that.
I can see. You can definitely see it now.
Hey.
But going to Bowie, having an opportunity to continue to play and seek a 4-year degree, I was really, really excited about that. And then I had the opportunity to coach right after I finished playing.
Yeah, how does it, because, we have a lot of, you've seen how these athletes come, especially you being in the coach perspective now, but how is it from now being on that side to you being the student where you remember not being recruited in a heavy situation, like Suitland High School, like you said, it wasn't like the marquee school. And of course, at that time, PG County was like basketball. So you trying to get recruited coming out of Suitland, like do you wish you would have went to a different school?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
I don't regret anything about my journey and or my high school process. To be honest, I wasn't prepared for college coming out of 4-year school, coming out of high school because of things that I didn't do. So it really helped me in those 2 years at the junior college prepare myself for a 4-year university. and understand how important it was to seek my degree and do well in the classroom, that sort of thing.
So were you recruited out of high school to go in anywhere, or was it okay?
I had a few schools that were interested, but once again, test scores were hindering me. My GPA was fine. My test scores were hindering me, and so I had to go to junior college route.
I'm gonna ask you this because I didn't do too well on the SAT either. And the ACT, and that was an act, literally. Okay. Right. And do you think that, and you can't really say too much, but I'm gonna position this to get your opinion on it. Okay. With all of the NIL and things of that nature, NCAA, I think the scores is the only thing that kind of keeps the governing situation together. How do you feel about the score? Like, should the scores be eradicated, or what do you feel like at this point in time? Because now money's in place, right, but the scores, what are we really doing? So
fortunately, this past year, the first year, the NCAA eliminated the test scores.
What?
That's no longer a requirement to go to college.
What?
To participate in
I'm going back. I'm going back.
To participate. So some universities still ask for test scores, but the NCAA, that is no longer factored in to your eligibility at all.
I'm going back. I'm upset.
Yeah,
so now they got NIL and no scores.
No scores and NIL.
This is insane to me. I don't like this. I need a redo immediately. Okay. So now as you go to the junior college, talk a little bit about JUCO, because a lot of people shy away from it. A lot of people, and I'm a lot of people. Right. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that's me, because I came out top of my class. I was being heavily recruited. We've talked offline. You know my story as far as not having my scholarships, right, not seeing them and things of that nature. And actually, you were there while I was at school and right, seeing how certain stuff was going on. So talk a little bit about the decision. Like, what was your energy like knowing that you had to go to a JUCO school?
I had to grind. My parents told me, hey, we're not wasting money for you to go to a 4-year school and not be prepared for it. Mm-hmm. So if you're serious about your education and serious about playing football, you can get it done at the junior college level. Got it. And so I was there. We were grinding. It was 6 or 7 of us living in the townhouse, but all of us, from the area, mm-hmm, amongst a lot of great football players. I think we finished top 10 in the country in JUCO at that time as far as a program. Finished 9-1. I think my last year there, and it was a lot of talent, and you had to do all the little things right and make certain sacrifices to give yourself a chance to go into that 4-year school. So you were hungry. So when I got the opportunity and was recruited out of the junior college, I had several different opportunities and offers, and Coach Wood was the one that offered me at Bowie State, and I really felt at home. It was 3 of my other teammates at that time. We decided to go to Bowie. Okay. And we wanted to, quote unquote, change the culture there. Okay. We knew we wanted to play together, but we wanted to go to a place where we felt like home. Yeah. And that's what we did, and we all went and graduated, and I think the rest is history right now. Yeah, it definitely is history, and there's a lot of history that's attached to it. But staying at home, that didn't bother you? Not at all. I had a younger brother. I had a brother that's 9 years younger than me. Okay. And I felt more had a father figure role. My dad's been in my life all my life, been in his life all his life. But at the end of the day, I felt obligated to be around to make sure I was guiding him the right way. So that was really important to me. And I'm a family guy. I was the first male in my family to go to college. Wow. So it gave me an opportunity to play in front of my family. Yeah. And every game, you're going to have 15, 20 family members at every game. Still now, even with me coaching, being back home coaching, same thing. Yeah. So it's really a blessing. And it's a dream to be able to have your family actually show up and play, especially since you being able to be the hometown kid that kind of was looked at in a position like, okay, yeah, he played, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of overlooking that does happen when it comes to certain things. Some people are cast out or cast against when it comes to it. When it comes to keeping your mental capacity, because, we talk about all the time, like you have certain players that go on to professional leagues that wish they not play in nobody's at home because of, like you said, the 20, 25 people. They're like, yo, I need some tickets. Like, you going to give me a section. So did that, outside of the motivation for being able to play in front of them, how were you able to maintain the innocence and then also the discipline being home, because you still had access to everything and everybody and you knew the area? It wasn't difficult for me, just because I looked at football and sports as an opportunity to bring my family together. Like I said, we were really a family-oriented group, but we got to a point where we were really just celebrating Christmas, all the holidays, major holidays. Got it. Football gave us another opportunity to come together and support one another and to see each other. So I didn't have any really negative feelings or hurdles I had to overcome during that time. It was
Yeah.
really a blessing, to be honest with you. After the game, you come to the gate and you see 15 family members there, and whether win, lose, or draw, it's just great. So they can spend time together and share stories. And after me, if I was going to college, several of my cousins have gone to college and graduate, and I think a lot of that has to do with seeing someone do it before them. So my sister and myself, we were the first two to graduate school, and I think that really helped the rest of my cousins and everyone else behind us.
And that's important, especially as we see most recently Jalen Hurts went back and got his master's. Like, like a lot of people don't even have their bachelor's. They never even go back. But he has his bachelor's. He went and got his master's. And he was also going and doing this while taking his whole team to the Super Bowl.
That was a great, this past weekend. And I pretty much did the same thing. Once I finished playing ball, I started my master's. And then I got an opportunity to coach at another university.
Okay.
So I stopped my master's. I just finished my master's 3 years ago. So really 20 years after I finished playing ball. And the reason I did it, my wife has her master, and I didn't want my son to come up, Mom got your master, you don't have yours. So I just want to continue to set new standards for the family.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I'm just
it was a challenge. It was a challenge. It took me 20 years, but no one's going to care.
Yeah, but you know what? It's crazy because my mom, she was the only person in the family that did not have no degree, but she put everybody through school. Right. So nephews, her nephews, my cousins, and my aunt and everybody, like all of these people had degrees. Right. She never had hers, so she went and got her associates, but she did the dual program at the same time and got her bachelor's. So she went from having like no degrees to the only person in the house with like two. And we like, yo, who are you at this point? Like, who are you? So, okay, so you go to Bowie State. The atmosphere is right. You have the family there. At any point in the career of playing in, because at that time, it was still CIAA.
We're still in CIAA, yep.
At that time, the atmosphere of what CIAA football is now, I purposely believe you had something to do with that, especially when it comes to Bowie State as a player and as a coach. The difference between playing and coaching today versus then is, in your opinion, what?
The support. We didn't, and we were a decent football team. We were 5-6, 6-5, I think, when I was playing. Okay. And the support that we started to receive there as a coach was light years ahead of what it was when we played there. When I was there, our family would come out, some of the students would come out. But when I finished here coaching, I could look up every game. It felt like a homecoming atmosphere. Yeah. A lot of that has to do with the success we had and some of the players that we had. A lot of local talent, and their families would come out to support them. Right. And we had a couple of key guys that would get the rest of the community come out to see them as well. Mm-hmm. So that was big. But the major thing was the support. The university, I think, made a conscious decision to put some more financial resources behind the program, which really helped us a lot as well. But Bowie was, at one time, we were looked at just like the 13th grade almost, if you will, for local students. Bowie wasn't the first.
Me again.
Bowie wasn't the first choice of a lot of people. And my goal as a player and as a coach wanted to change that perception. Yeah. I wanted folks to say, hey, I graduated from Suitland High School. I want to go to Bowie State. Yeah. And I saw some of that throughout my time there as a head coach, and I really felt good about it. Yeah,
and so before you got to Bowie, you were at Prairie View? You was in the SWAC. So you went to Texas?
So I was at Bowie from 99 to 03. Okay. Then I left and went to Texas Southern. Okay. Then I went to Prairie View. Then I came back to Bowie as a head coach.
The difference between the SWAC and the CIAA, atmosphere, resources, everything, the classics,
all of that
is what is it that, in your opinion, because you've been able to see it and be a part of it, and have the audacity, honestly, to change programs and cultures and be a part of it, and some of which programs are still utilizing your stuff in their programs, if you will. What's the difference, or what can the SWAC show the CIAA, or is there something that needs to be there? Because on top of that, you're part of the MEAC now too. Right. So you'd have been everywhere.
It's I think a lot of history is just different. Yeah. The CIAA is the oldest conference. Yep. SWAC, from a Southern standpoint, the academics and the universities meant more, in my opinion, to people at the time they attended the university, whereas up north, it's a little different dynamic. So I learned how to be an alum when I was down the South, when I was down at Prairie View, when I was down at Texas Southern. Wow. I saw how alums gave back. I saw how alums got involved. And that's when I said I came back to Bowie. I would never not give back to my university, because I understand what type of impact that you may have on the university and the current students. We get caught up in, hey, the lines were long when I was in school. We didn't do this when I was in school. Down there, it wasn't like that. It was like, it's my obligation, my responsibility to make sure I give back so the current students don't have to go through the same things we went through.
Talk about Texas Southern, because that program, we know, we see all of the people that come through, of course, the notoriety that came back. Now you got Megan Thee Stallion being an alum now. Right. But the program itself, as an athletic perspective, and that wasn't your first head coaching job, was it?
Well, no, I was an assistant head coach at Texas Southern.
Running back?
Running back and assistant head coach. And at Prairie View, I was assistant coach at Prairie View as well.
Correct.
So the Texas Southern, we're in downtown Houston. And we didn't. That sells itself. That sells itself. Yeah. You're around the corner from the University of Houston, around the corner from Rice. You're in a great location to really get your degree as well as play sports. We didn't have a lot of success as a football program when I was at Texas Southern. However, I learned a lot of things, what to do and what not to do, and which prepared me to be a head coach in years later. But it was a great run at Prairie View. We had a lot of success at Prairie View. That was one time the most losingest program in FCS football. And when I was there, we finished in the top 25 of FCS programs. And once again, I saw the RVs pull up on the Tuesday before Saturday homecoming. I saw all of that good stuff. So
I wanna pull this up too, because you going through these accolades. And I wanted to make sure that I ran off a few of these accolades that you have, okay? So Division II quarterfinalist, Elite 8. You were final ranking number 6 in D2 football in 2021. But I want to dial back real quick to this one right here, okay? These back-to-back championships that just so happen to start popping up at Bowie State. When you finally were hired as head coach at Bowie State University, what was your emotion like?
I'm still emotional about it because it gave me an opportunity to come back home and to lead a program that meant a lot to me. So when we lost 3 championships before we won our first one. So
I was there for every last one of them.
I learned a lot throughout those losses. 2-point loss, 3-point loss, whatever it was. But for us, when we won that first one in 2018, very rewarding feeling. And watching the guys celebrate is something that we had talked about. It's something that I told the guys when we were recruiting them what we were going to do. Yeah. And for that thing to come full circle, for our graduation rates to be high and all that stuff to come around full circle was really rewarding. See the president's face and administration, the alumni, it's special,
What is it like having to recruit kids from the area? Because as you mentioned, it's looked at like the 13th grade. Correct. So as the person, you coming in saying, yo, look at what we do here. This is the program, you can stay home. But what is the, if any, pushback aside from the 13th grade that you get from people wanting to come to Bowie State or even coming to Morgan?
Well, now I don't receive any. And the reason I say that is because of the success. When I first started, I was selling the dream. I was selling a vision that we had as a coaching staff, as a program, but it hadn't happened. Yeah. Now these young guys that we're recruiting now, they can see the success we had. It's documented. Yeah. You was reading off some of the accolades, but it's documented so they know what we're about. They know we're going to graduate. We're going to have a good time. We're going to win some championships. Yeah. And everybody wants to be a part of that. Yeah. And at Morgan State, man, the academic criteria is second to none. I'm really excited about that. I didn't have a drop down at all with regards to the academic. I picked up some more academic support at Morgan that I didn't necessarily have at Bowie. So it's really rewarding to see these guys develop. So
let's stay with Bowie for a second. So I went to Bowie State. Let me sit that there for a second, okay? Right. You know what I'm saying? I went there for a year, okay? And everybody knows I have an allegiance to Elizabeth City State University as well. No. But I will say that some of the best relationships that I ever developed with understanding the athletic perspective came from Bowie State University. Bowie State definitely is a family when it comes to, especially the athletic program. Okay. You went through a few athletic director changes while at Bowie State University. What is it like as a head coach who you have certain things in place, but when an athletic director comes in, they will have their vision as to what they want to do. Do you all get to sit down and meet to say, hey, this is what happens in order to see what his vision is and he sees what you've already put in place? How does that work? I
was very fortunate. It starts at the top. I had 2 presidents that to me were great, Dr. Burnham and Dr. Bro. To me, they were the great individuals, great leaders. And then from an AD standpoint, you mentioned I had several ADs. Mr. Derek Carter hired me, and then he left and took another job in the MEAC. ended up having Miss Creek was there for a little while, and then Mr. Dowdy, who's there now.
Yep.
And the good thing about it, my job was I feel like my job was always as a head coach to make the AD look good.
Okay.
So as long as I did my job and kept my guys out of their presence, they won't let me run my show.
Right.
And that's what they did.
Basically, get out the way. That's what I heard. Get out of my way. That's what I heard. Get out of my way.
But to your point, we did have conversations, and it's a trust factor. I mean, Mr. Dowdy didn't really have a football background, so he didn't know what he was getting into.
Right.
At that time, we had gone through our little lumps at Bowie, but we were on that other side now. So he really saw me. I think his first 4 years, we was in the conference championship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot more he had to say, but he did help provide some more resources for our guys, and that's one of the things that I'm really was excited about because we were one of the lowest funded schools in the CIAA. Yeah. And once we started having success and sustaining success, the mindset is, why give you more? And my whole thing, you got to give them more because the students deserve it. Yeah. And it's hard to argue with it when the guys are graduating, the guys are putting the wins on the field, and they're doing a great job in the community. The university and administration had to support it. So.
How important is it, for that fight? Because a lot of coaches, sometimes they get the job and it's like they're reliving through the job that they have. How important is it for coaches to come in with a mindset, understanding like, yo, it's not the time anymore. Like, we got to get these kids together. And I asked that question because you saw what I went through. Right. And a lot of times some people live their dreams out through other players. Correct. How important is that? And then how have you been able to separate yourself from the player to the coach?
I always got my joy from my players receiving what they wanted. So what motivates me, my why, is to make sure my student athletes are in good shape. If they're in good shape, I'm fine. If they're getting the things that they need to be successful, if I'm seeing them accomplish their goals, I'm super duper excited. So for me, and it's never about me. And you probably in your phone had more notes or accolades about the things that we accomplished that I had no knowledge of. I have a family member say, hey, Yaga did this or you did. No, I don't. I don't get caught up in that. I get caught up in my guys, and I think that's really something that's helped me a lot. I think my first 3 or 4 years as a head coach, I was following what was on the paper. I was reading all the press clippings and that sort of thing. And believe it or not, it got me distracted. So I started to shut that stuff down and just dive into the right here, the right now, and deal with my guys, and I think it helped me a whole lot.
I'm glad you brought up the distraction piece of it because as a player, when you were playing, how were you able to maintain, like, we don't have the social media, you know what I'm saying? Like, even when I was playing, we didn't have the social media that exists to this day. So how were you able to minimize the distractions? Because, of course, you still were at home, but what's the mindset that you have to maintain no matter what, because you're still traveling, not just staying home, but you're now traveling and doing the work? What's the mindset?
I had to be, disciplined, but I was also fearful of letting my parents down. I was fearful of letting my grandparents down. Once again, I was the first male in the family. I had cousins behind me to go to college, and they were entering college where I may have been a sophomore, they were freshmen, whatever it was. I was fearful to let those guys down. Yeah. So it was really important for me to kind of set the stage, and set the standard, and that's something I never took lightly. I still don't take lightly.
Did you have a dream of ever going to the league?
No.
Really?
No. I have a cousin that coaches in the league now. He's been coaching the last 15, 16 years in the league, and had an opportunity to do several NFL internships. My goal, what drives me is developing 18 to 22-year-olds. At some point, I may get there, but that's a different business. And I like to develop 18 to 22-year-olds. When you go to the league, you don't have as much say-so in your roster. You don't have as much say-so in who you coach. Now we kind of handpick who we want in our program. It's
interesting you say that because Deion Sanders said the same thing. He said that he has no interest in going to the NFL level because of some of the things that you pointed out when it comes to having those things, as far as he has the biggest social media presence and you coaching on the HBCU level. In your opinion, did Deion Sanders help HBCUs, or what do you think actually happened when it came to him being a part of Jackson State?
I think Deion Sanders did a great job helping Jackson State, helping himself to get to where he wanted to be. And right now that's at the FBS level of Colorado. I think it was both sides gained something. Okay. I think the HBCU community did gain something. Yeah. My biggest deal is when you add something, you want to make sure it's sustainable. So does that something that he added, does it die off now that he's no longer there, or is it something that can be sustained? Right. So anytime I'm trying to leave an impact on something, I want the next person behind me to be able to sustain whatever we started. Definitely was a positive deal. So that's my biggest thing. I mean, if you raise $1 million today, do we have the things in place to make sure continue to raise that money?
And I think for me, that's the biggest thing because, we saw the people that flocked to Jackson State,
right?
But were they flocking to Dion?
Indeed.
So my thought process was, as you said, was it sustainable? I thought it was sustainable because of Dion.
Correct.
Now you still have somebody who, like yourself, you coached at Bowie. Now their head coach, he was the quarterback at Jackson State. I'm interested to see the resources because Pepsi came out of nowhere, Powerade came out of nowhere. It was a whole bunch of other people that just came out of nowhere that, we can do it this way. Correct. What is it that if sponsors, because you're always looking for sponsors when it comes to your athletic program, right, whether it was Bowie State or whether it's Morgan State, whether it's Texas Southern, whether it's Prairie View, what is it that if a sponsor came towards you that you don't have the cachet as Dion, but you have the ability to show this is my win-loss category, right, what do you say to them if they could give you the funding towards it?
I challenge them and ask them what's important. Is it important to have the graduation numbers that we have, the win-loss record that we have, or have a name like a Dion? If you're really in it for the student athletes and you're really in it for their success and their overall development, and you look how many student athletes that we've helped graduate, that we've assisted, whether it's internships, whatever it may be, I think you would side on our side as far as want to be a partner with us because of the overall development of the student athletes. So kind of the proof is in the pudding. May not have the flashy name, but the proof is in the pudding, what we've done and who we've impacted and how we've impacted them.
Coaching on the HBCU level it ain't for everybody. You've been able to sustain at 4 in multiple positions. What is it that you look for when you're recruiting someone to come play for any of your programs?
A guy that's coachable, a guy that's tough, academically, a guy that can matriculate at the university. But if you're coachable and you're tough, we have a chance to have success with you.
Right.
But when I say coachable, I'm not just talking about the playbook, but coachable in life. Guys that care about one another, guys that care about the community. And once you have those type of people on your roster, you're going to have success. Yeah. Because those guys are going to, once again, be coachable and they're going to be tough. Yeah. And tough, the guys are going to understand how to deal with adverse situations. So those are some of the characteristics that we look for when we recruit our student athletes.
Speaking of coachable and student athletes, we had Amir on, and we've had Delano on.
The GOAT.
Two of your own.
Yes, indeed.
And both of them basically said you saved their life. When it comes to having a relationship with your players outside of, this is the statistics, this is your playing time. Right. How do you get players to trust you and you being able to understand their background outside of them being the athlete?
You mentioned those two guys, and they are from two different ends
worlds,
of the
yes.
spectrum. And Delano, man, when I first got to Bowie, they were, hey, get this guy off campus. This guy's not a good guy. He's not this. He's not that. And I brought him in my office and we talked. Mm-hmm. We had heart-to-heart conversation. I got to learn more about his past, more about his family, more about his upbringing, and which allowed me to kind of pour into him. Mm-hmm. And the love we showed is real. Yeah. We still talk. I'm at the point now where they invite me to baby showers and weddings and all that other good stuff. Yeah. And they don't have to do that anymore. They don't longer play for me. Right. But that means whatever we did with them when they were players for us, it meant something to them. Right. Because they calling the old guy back. And just to hang with them. Yeah. That sort of thing is special. Like I said, Delano had one background. Amir has another background. Mm-hmm. Loving family, very supportive family, college educated family. And man, this guy wasn't highly recruited. Neither one of them. Yeah. And to watch Delano and watch both of them grow, and Delano never received the accolades that he should have received through the CIAA.
I learned that.
Yeah, and that was something that really pissed me off, to be honest with you, because I watched his progress and I knew no one could block him. Yeah. But at the end of the year, for whatever reason, they didn't give him his just due. I think it's a blessing in disguise, because I think it makes him who he is today. Yeah. And he's a humble individual doing a great job in the community. Started, the running group, Runners Run, and all that good stuff. Yep. And so they're doing great. And Amir is another one that tore up every record that existed at Bowie State.
Shattered it.
CIAA. and you tell me this kid doesn't have an opportunity to play on Sundays. And that was wild. However, he had his little downtime. Mm-hmm. He put his big boy pants on, and he's moved on from that. And I think he's found his calling And through those adverse times, you see who true people, who they really are.
Right.
Come out. And it was tough to watch as a coach because I thought both of those guys, Delano deserved the postseason accolades.
Right.
Amir deserved an opportunity to play on Sundays.
Very much so.
At the end of the day, I couldn't, quote unquote, make it happen.
Right.
But I was there for those guys and still there for those guys, and we talk and everything now.
Right.
So those are now almost friends to me.
Yeah.
So that's what's important.
Do you remember your moment when, like, and of course every athlete does, but when the ball stopped for you as an athlete, because that's the overall premise of the whole conversation when it comes to, especially even as you saying, you've now sat on it on both sides, the disappointment as a coach, but then also the disappointment that comes from not being able to go as far as you wanted to go. How far did you want your career to go as an athlete? And then how have you been able to navigate, well, how were you able to navigate the waters of being able to say, okay, now what's next?
So the position I played, they said tight end H-back. I was 6'1", 6'2", 245 pounds. The reality is I didn't have the measurables to go to the next level. When I left Bowie State field and playing Virginia State, I finished with 6 receptions that game, went up the top of that hill, turned my equipment in happily. I was happy. I was satisfied.
Wow.
I had accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish as a player. Now I was ready to get into my real world. Played in one All-Star game that, after our season that I was invited to, and after that, never looked back.
Wow.
But the thing is, I was blessed with an opportunity to coach
right
after I finished playing.
Okay.
So I really got, and there's only been maybe 5 games that I've coached in where I wish I still played.
Okay.
Like I wish I could get out. But outside of that, I didn't miss it. I knew what I was doing. I had a plan. Paid for my education through athletics. And now been able to, like I say, coach 25, 26 years.
Yeah.
And look at how many guys that we've been able to help. It's been really, really rewarding to me.
Yeah. At Bowie State, how many players under you were able to make it to the league? Because I lost count, I'm not going to lie.
I'll be telling you a fib. I don't remember either. What I can tell you is during the COVID year, I got bored. I started to go through to see how many guys we actually graduated throughout the program. And I got to about 260 names, and I stopped. So I had to go back roster by roster. It was COVID. I was bored, man. I was trying to.
You had to do something. You had to do something. But to do that, like, it was like, all right, cool. Yeah, we got people that make it to the league. But how many coming out of here with a degree?
I'm going to tell you what happened. I realized about myself that I get my joy out of people. And during COVID, you couldn't be around people.
Yeah.
So I had to find a way to kind of ease my brain because I couldn't be around people. We were doing welfare checks with our guys as coaches. We were running right around to their houses, meeting them out front of their houses just to say hello to them because we couldn't get together as a program, as a team. Wow. But that was one of the projects that I did, and I was excited about that. But as far as the number of guys that receive opportunities, I think Isaac Rittman probably is still the big name guy. He played several years and played in the bowl game and everything. And we should say Delano. You said, shucks, man, I can go to Doug. I mean, it's been a number of guys that had opportunity. And now you're talking about this year, DJ just signed with the Ravens.
Right.
And we have Boone and Josh with the Commanders.
Yeah.
And we just had our running back, Alfonso Graham, signed with Pittsburgh Steelers this past weekend at Morgan. So, I mean, the guys are living their dream.
Yeah.
They're getting a head start in life. That's what it's about.
Okay, so let's get into this conversation about HBCUs and being able to bring those athletes to the NFL. Only technically one player was drafted in this year's NFL draft. As a coach and you see the product, you recruit it daily. What do you believe it's going to take in order to have multiple players drafted in the NFL from HBCUs?
We have to continue to pour into our programs. At the end of the day, that's a shame, because if you look back and see how many guys signed free agent contracts,
yeah,
the numbers it's a lot different.
Yeah,
and that's a shame. Our guys at HBCU should be able to get that same head start on life. Talking about financially, because there's a major difference being a draft pick than being a free agent.
Yep.
So let's get our guys that same financial head start on life that some of the other students are getting, our athletes are getting. I definitely think more than one guy should have been drafted this year. It makes me work harder,
right?
And it also makes me hold my guys more accountable. They have to do things not just better. Everything has to be better.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day to help them in life, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. But we're not going to complain about it. We're going to keep grinding and keep getting it done. It's about what you do with your opportunity when you get there.
100%. And a lot of them say that they are prepared once they come from under certain people. I know Delano mentioned being under the right coach.
Right.
And vetting the right coach allows you to see what their resources look like, who they know, how they can shift. And he always said that you had the impact because of you were able to show not only how you could do it on the field, but who you know and what rooms you were willing to put people on off the field. He mentioned this story about how the Jets came to y'all office and you called him and he said he was asleep.
Right.
And he said your face was shook when the guy told him, yo, you can't play for me. It's 8 o'clock.
And he was still asleep.
And he was still asleep.
He didn't get to work out already. He told Delano in my office that particular day, if you continue to sleep at 8 o'clock, you will never get an opportunity because you should be great going to your second workout.
Shit.
And Delano looked at him, looked at me. Delano, he probably didn't tell you this. Delano was a basketball player and football player.
Yep.
And Delano kept telling me, Coach, I want to go to the NFL. I want to go to the NFL. Why are you playing basketball? I said, you cannot do both and think your body's going to be where it needs to be to play.
Yeah.
Because basketball, see, that's the time you bulk up for football.
Right.
That's the time we in 6 a.m. workouts.
Yeah.
So you're missing that part of the conditioning. So he had to make the sacrifices last year and not play basketball. And that was one of the best decisions he made because that gave him an opportunity. I think he added about 15, 20 pounds of muscle. He understood, that it was a commitment.
Yeah.
It was a commitment. It's not just a fly-by-night deal. I mean, guys in the league, you're a special player. You play in the National Football League, any professional league.
Yeah, any professional. Yeah, 100%. You made history at Bowie State, brought the first title, not as a player, but as a coach. Did it feel any different?
I think it was more rewarding because once again, I get my joy from everybody else. Yeah. So as a person, it was exciting personally, but just to watch the guys, just to watch the alums. Then you go back and do it again.
Back to back.
And then they say you can't do it. You did it the
again.
third time.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And I felt real good about doing it the fourth time. I just left and went the fourth. But I felt good about it. But I love doing things that people said I couldn't do.
Yeah.
I had a teacher in high school, man. I never forget. I won't call his name now. But he told me, he said, Damon, you continue to chase this sport and these little oval objects, it's not going to get you anywhere. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow.
That statement he made to me has meant so much to me throughout my life because I always found a way to use the sport to get what I need to do and input and impact other people. Yeah. So I would love to have a conversation with him now because 30
chasing it, you in.
Yeah, I done seen the world because it's oval object. I met a lot of friends to this oval object.
Come on now.
So
Come on now.
Talk
your talk. I'm going to step back. Let me just go ahead and step back.
Nah, you're good, but that definitely motivated me, though.
So, okay, there's another thing that you do that I love that I feel like a lot of universities need to do more of, and that's hire alums. You hire some of your own players that used to play for you, whether they are graduate assistants or they become actual coaches on staff, salaries, things of that nature, to the point that when you step down, one of your players is now the head coach at Bowie State University. Why is it important for you to hire those players afterwards? Because normally they could just go on, they become police officers, firefighters, nurses, whatever, and you don't hear anything from them, and you're like, yo, he was a good player, but why didn't you invest in it? You actually do that. Why is that?
You got to practice what you preach. I can't develop you as a football player and as a person, and when you get an opportunity and you say you want to coach, I don't bring you back and give you an opportunity to coach. Wow. And then for me, I don't have to worry about learning their personality. They don't have to worry about learning my personality. They know what I want. So therefore, if you take a look at it, and I started this project too, as far as the coaches off of our tree at Bowie State, I mean, it's amazing. But one thing that I do, and I was determined to do, is if a guy finished playing for me when I was at Bowie, I would always send him somewhere else to get his master's because I want him to go learn some other things and bring it back to me. So if you go to X school and get your master's and you still want to coach, you come back to me, I'm going to give you a job. And
wow.
Look at Tyree Reed now with the
Commanders. Yeah.
Naima
I was just about to say, yep.
With the Browns. Kyle is the head coach at Bowie. Still got Anton Sue with me at Morgan. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's a number of guys that have gone out to receive their master's at other universities and decide to come back and bring some more to the table. I just don't want you to know Wilson's way. I want you to know other people's way so Wilson can continue to grow and develop.
But that speaks a lot about your character because some coaches, they'll say, all right, cool, whatever, and they're going about their wayside and right back into the thick of things. You, on the other hand, it's like you're kind of that father figure that whether they had him or they didn't have it in their life, you like, listen, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to tell you how to get here. You still got to do the work. It's the same way that it was on the field. I'm going to show you this. You still got to do the work, but I still need you to execute. So for people to actually be able to trust you to say, yo, all right, he said he going to give me a job, which means you still got to go do the work and believe that you telling them the truth, which some of us, we spend more time with coaches than we do our own families. No, so it's like when you say something, especially as my coach, I hold it honestly sometimes higher than I do my own family's word. So for you to be able to hold that, it says a lot about your character for sure. I definitely say that. You're at Morgan State now. When you stepped down from Bowie, you were still on the high. We was like, and I ain't gonna hold you. When the news came out, I cried. I said, where is he going?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, he's just going up the road. But still, it's not gonna be the same. And then I saw Cal's name pop up. I said, oh yeah, we good now. Never mind. What was the decision like in accepting the position at Morgan State?
It was tough. It was tough for a number of reasons. The biggest just because of my guys that I recruited to Bowie. It was tough because of the coaches and the relationships that I had on campus. And we just, like I said, we won 3 championships in a row. It gave me an opportunity now to take that same blueprint up the road without relocating the family and do the same thing at a place like Morgan. I mean, Morgan has a rich history of success, and not on the football field, but also in the classroom. But hadn't been successful over 30 years consistently. So it's another challenge for me. Some people look at me, hey, Coach, why in the world are you doing this?
That was me. Where you going?
Some people understood the move. I had a number of opportunities to leave Bowie throughout my 13 years there, and I wasn't ready to leave or didn't feel right. But when I met with Dr. Wilson at Morgan and Ms. Dina Patton-Freeman, my AD, athletic director, felt good. Yeah. Felt like home. I met with Dr. Bro at Bowie along with Mr. Dowdy, and they asked me, Coach, what should we do? And I would never, ever take this lightly at all. What should our next steps be? And we talked amongst the 3 of them, and we talked what's the best move for the program and that sort of thing. And I'm so glad they gave me an opportunity to have a voice. And they gave Kyle an opportunity to be a coach. They didn't have to do that. And that's something I did not take lightly at all. But I know everything that we poured into that program over the last 13 years, I didn't think anybody else deserved the opportunity to lead that program, or I didn't want to see anybody else lead that program unless it was somebody within our circle.
Family, yeah. And of course, they came from your tree, playing and now coaching. So it's like the style is still there. But, of course, you got to make it your own at that point. No so at Morgan, you came in first season. What was your first season like?
Well, it was interesting.
Okay.
We got hired in June. Whole staff got there in place in July. We started camp in August. So we play Georgia Southern, and I swear to goodness, I don't know anybody's name. I'm calling you by your numbers. I don't have any relationships with you.
Wow.
So it's new for me.
Yeah.
Because I build everything off family. And
right.
And it was new. So I didn't know who was going to fight, who wasn't going to fight. And we playing a FBS opponent. I think we were down 3-07 at halftime, and they come in the locker room looking at me like, oh, shucks, we got a chance. And then I started to learn their names because they started to make plays. And then, we continued to build. We lost some games that I think you win those games when you're in a better situation, but we doubled the win-loss total from the previous year, so we're going in the right direction. The conference is definitely tough. The non-conference schedule is tough. Mm-hmm. So it's about just building the program. There's no shortcut to this thing. You have to do everything the right way. You have to get everybody understanding the importance of doing the little things right. Administration, alumni, everybody. Yeah. And it's a process. We didn't have overnight success at Bowie.
No.
My first year, we went to the championship, but we lost. And that said a lot for us to get to the championship because I was hired in late April at Bowie when I first got there.
Wow.
But the difference is I had some relationship with some of the guys. I knew I could count on. I swear to goodness, my first 4 or 5 weeks at Morgan, I didn't know who I could count on. I'm watching plays, and that particular person looked good that played, and the next play they looked bad. And they trying to learn me as well.
Right.
So we spent a lot of time. I told my coaches, you guys deal with the X and O piece. I want to deal with the relationship piece. I want them to see that we care, see that we are genuinely interested in their overall success. Yeah. And I think that helped us win some ball games towards the end and establish, what we're going to do moving forward.
In the time frame of being at Morgan, there's a lot. Morgan is rough. It has a bad rap. Mm-hmm. But most of the people that you recruited, even coming to Bowie, were from Baltimore, whether it's city or whether it's county. In the city of Baltimore itself, being that it gets a bad rap, Morgan doesn't get a bad rap to a certain extent. But how do you convince somebody to come to Baltimore to play for you now at Morgan State?
If you care about your community, why not come and be a part of the change? So we're in a community where you make a right off campus, you're going to $2 million houses. You make a left off campus, you're going to $500 houses. It's two different types of community within blocks of each other.
Right.
And we have the ability to impact both communities. So if we want to make change, why not be in the middle of it? Why not be on the ground running, on the front row running with the change?
Yeah.
That's one thing that we're telling our guys as far as involvement in the community. That's one thing we're selling to the guys that we're recruiting. We're going to do that. We're going to be that positive force in the community to eliminate some of the negativity that's going on.
Yeah.
And we want to magnify the good things that's going on.
Yeah.
That campus is beautiful.
It is.
You look at the buildings popping up.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's amazing. So we want to showcase those things, the positive, but we also understand that there's some youth that need us.
All right, so this is gonna be off the record, but
right. I took communication. I got my master's in organization communication, so I learned about off the record stuff.
So off the record, you done been in the SWAC, you've been in the CIAA,
right?
Now you're in the MEAC.
Mm-hmm.
Who better?
Wow.
Who better?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because there's been some damn good teams in every conference you done made.
Yeah.
You mentioned. And it depends on the year, to be honest with you. I mean, it was some teams. We had a team in the CIAA that could compete with the MEAC teams and the SWAC teams.
100%.
But I've been on some teams in a SWAC where it's going to have been tight on us. So those are three very good competitive conferences. Only conference I have not participated in is the SIAC,
yeah.
as far as HBCU conferences. But every time we play the SIAC team, I think I'm undefeated. Yeah, I think we're undefeated against those.
It's a flex for me. It's a flex for me.
I'm looking at the schools. Yeah, I think we're undefeated. But all in all, all three conferences are very competitive.
Yeah.
And some talent at every level. And that's one thing that I always told my guys, because I was at the FCS level before I came back to Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what a Division II football player looks like. I know what a good football player is. So if you recruit good football players, they're going to play football at every level.
Yeah.
And once you start to believe in it, I'm not a Division III or Division II football player. I'm just a good football player. That's what gives you an opportunity, because you say you want to play on Sundays.
Right.
Sundays don't look at who's the FBS, who's the FCS, who's the Division II. They want the best players available.
Yeah, who get the job done.
Who get the job done. So if you get the job done, you're going to have an opportunity to play on Sundays.
I just want everybody to know that the MEAC is a derivative of the CIAA.
Ain't no doubt about it.
That's his stuff. Y'all should know that in
doubt
advance. So, culture-wise, baby, CIAA is winning. I'll say it, he did not.
Indeed.
Okay. You've had the opportunity to gain internships on the NFL level. Before that piece happened, you've also coached in the HBCU Legacy Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. How important was that bowl for you to be able to, because it was the inaugural one, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed.
How was that?
Major. You talking about James Shaq Harris and Doug Williams, two pioneers of this deal that poured everything into this Legacy Bowl and got the support and the financial backing to give student athletes at HBCUs an opportunity to display their skill set on a big stage.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. I'm so fortunate and blessed to have participated in the first one. I'm so fortunate and blessed to have a relationship with Doug Williams and Shaq Harris because I see what these guys are doing on a daily basis. They're living the creed. They're definitely things that they experienced when they were in school and after school. Even professionally, they're making sure the other guys don't have to do that. And if you sit back and look at the position they played in the National Football League, then you look at some of the highest paid players in the National Football League now, they're at their position.
Wow.
And they look like them. I mean, you think about three of the four highest paid players in the league are black quarterbacks.
Yep.
That's something, because James Shaq Harris, Doug Williams, Ozzie Newsome, that's something those guys fought 4 years ago. We're just starting to see the benefit of it now.
100%.
So I was very fortunate, and that was a top flight event.
Yeah.
They gave the guys everything, man. The gear, the practice facility gave us rings. We won the game too. So
he's flexing.
It was our staff in South Carolina State staff with Buddy Pugh, and I had the opportunity to spend a week with him, who's a legend in this game.
Yeah.
He gave me it's something I would never forget.
And then you had the internships that you've been able to do with two teams. Which teams?
The Jets and the Rams.
Okay.
I've also done some things with the Texans. That was some years ago.
Okay.
I've always taken advantage of those internships just to learn the new the new trends.
Got
so
it.
I can come back and develop and teach our guys.
Right.
To make sure we kind of stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
I think it's important for me to continue to get out and learn because you can get into a place as a head coach where you just kind of doing what you do.
Right.
I never want to get in that position.
Do you have to apply for that, or is like how does it work?
You apply, and the organizations accept the two, it's two guys. They accept 2 coaches a year. It's a Bill Walsh minority internship.
Got it.
To give us an opportunity to, I say us meaning minority coaches, an opportunity to coach in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And, we'll go through training camp, go through preseason games, and that sort of thing. And it's a great experience. Build some great relationships from those experiences. And the first time I went, and it really helped me because a lot of times you're coaching, you think it's a secret out there, like we're missing something. We're missing something.
Right.
Then when you go and you spend that time with the NFL team, no, they're doing the same thing, but it may be more detail. So now I got to tighten up on my detail of the work. And,
Got it.
So it's been very rewarding. This year, Coach Sewell, our defensive coordinator, is actually going to do one with the Ravens. So,
okay.
And that's another thing for me that's big to get my coaches out there. I might need them one day.
Yeah.
I need them now, but they may have to hire me one day.
Hey, listen, with your track record, you're going to be fine.
He's going to give me a water boy job or something. Right?
Hey, listen, well, on the male side, they get paid a lot. So, hell, I might be putting in an application to be the towel something at this point, child. You know what I'm saying? Just hold me down. I got you, okay? Before we get out of here, you're a husband, father, member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. The overall perspective of what is it like to just be Damon? Because you're a football coach every day, but when you come home, wife don't care, son don't care. What is it like a day in the life of just being Damon?
That's a good one. I don't have to change much at all. My wife is very supportive. She's a football chick, if you will.
She's dope. I'm gonna just say it.
She's a Delta, and she gets it. My son, that's the most important thing. I don't want to be the football dad to him, and I had to speak to a couple of teachers about that because they want to correlate my profession
with
the
who
way
you
we
are.
raise them. Like, no, we don't do that. So I want to make sure they understand. He understands I'm dad to him. We don't talk about sports and all that good stuff every day, all day, because it's a difference.
Right.
When he gets to a point, he's 9 now. When he gets to a point where he wants to really hone in on one sport, if he wants to play any sports at all, then we'll get to that point. But I want him to see dad, the man, dad, the guy in the community doing the things that we should do to uplift our community. He sees the bros come over the house, and you understand when that purple and gold show up, he has a lot of uncles.
Yeah.
He understands that. And I think his friends see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. That's our job and our obligation
to
make sure that we continue to pour into our youth. But I'm a chilled guy, man. See me out on the boat, go fishing, and sit back in the deck on the deck and just watch a little TV or something.
Yeah.
But, that's a real relaxed life.
Next 5 years, where do you see yourself professionally and then personally?
Next 5 years, we should have already held up a championship at Bowie State University.
Okay.
And I see myself at Bowie State still building. That's what I say personally. I'm going to get out of my old lineman body and get into a receiver's body.
A receiver.
Yeah, I'm going to get down to a receiver's body. But no, yeah, just get healthy, stay healthy, and continue to pour back into our youth.
There's a young kid that's looking like, trying to figure out what they should do at this point. And specifically the person that's done with playing. What would you say to them as far as the first steps out the gate? Because ultimately you had favor over you where you were able to just jump right into it. But a lot of people's situation is not like that. What would you give them as far as motivation to say keep going?
Follow your passion. Find your passion. See what motivates you. See if your passion gives you the ability to pay your bills. Get out and do some community service activities. And the reason I continue to preach on that community service activities is because that's where you learn what you like and what you don't like a lot of the time. You don't necessarily have to have a job at something, but just to be out and something grab your attention, like, oh, that's a career in that. So just make sure you follow your passion. You ask yourself, can your passion pay your bills to live? Stay positive. Don't get discouraged. We're going to have peaks and valleys as we go through this thing called life. But the biggest thing is just make sure you take advantage of your opportunities and stay positive. I don't deal with negativity.
Yeah. Well, I got to come to Morgan,
Yes,
because I ain't get my ring while we was at Bowie. Just going to say that. So when we get a ring at Morgan, I'm going to get a ring.
Indeed.
Nah, Coach, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for always being available, even when it came to me. It hasn't just been on the male side of it. Like anytime when I was on campus, just as a student at Bowie State, you saw me work out. You saw me put the work in. You saw me in the offices, even if I ain't had nothing to do, whether it was training or all that, and you always poured in. So I just appreciate you for just being who you are. And never, please never switch up.
It's too late for me. I'm too old for that. Too old for that. But I appreciate you.
Man, of course, as always. All right, thank y'all for watching. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. And how can they follow you on Instagram? Because I know they gotta follow more. How can they follow Morgan State football?
Go at Morgan State Coach. That's the Twitter deal.
There we go.
Yeah, I can't remember all that other stuff. It's on the website. But at Morgan State Coach.
That's good enough, because if you try to figure out who gonna be your next coach, it just might be him. So I need y'all to understand where to go get him. At Morgan State Coach. Until next time, we out.